perhaps as the summer goes on and we get closer to the end of the transfer window, then maybe that balance of power changes back to the clubs a little bit. But clubs will be looking to finalise their squads as much as they can in the next few weeks, with the Carabao Cup for most clubs starting 2 weeks today. The odd game is just a week today. So Orient coming forward here, have the ball just inside the Cobblers area. It's with Sotirio, he plays it out to the far side, and Judd will deliver a ball in. Bolger under some pressure there, he's forced to head behind his own goal. Corner kick to Leyton Orient, and after possibly the Cobblers catching Orient a bit cold in the first 5-10 minutes with some high pressing, the last 5 minutes Orient have worked themselves a couple of openings here, Dave.
Sotirio did very well there, didn't he? I thought it was a neat, close control inside a crowded penalty area.
Just a slight delay while the ball is retrieved, and we're about to have the corner from the Leyton Orient right delivered in. I think it's James Dayton who's over there, who will send an in-swinger left-footed towards the Cobblers' goal. There's some pressure around goalkeeper Mitchell. Played into the near post. The header at the far post, and it was from Happe, and it was a good opportunity, but he couldn't quite find the target. A good chance there, Dave. Good
corner, wasn't it, from James Dayton? And Dan Happe will be very disappointed that he wasn't able to find the target on that one. Came in so quickly.
It's a new look Cobblers set up defending corners. The height of Verdane Oliver and Charlie Good and Scott Wharton that would have been perhaps the mainstays of last season are not with the club at the moment. So a new look Cobblers, and after the game on Wednesday with the youth team, that really was just really a gentle warm-up. They played 11 against 12 for most of the afternoon, so this is the first real pre-season outing as Hoskins brings the ball down well in midfield, finds Harriman right-hand side. Harriman delivers a low cross in, it's cleared away on the stretch by Coulson. Back to Ryan Watson. Watson out to Michael Harriman, right-hand side. Harriman delivers a cross, looking for Sam Hoskins, and a fantastic volleyed finish from Sam Hoskins to give the Cobblers the lead. Last season's leading scorer with a deft little finish into the net, just over Vigouroux. Apologies if one or two technical problems meant you missed the start of this game. We believe we are now streaming to you, and hopefully, from a Cobblers point of view, at least you joined us just in time to see a fine finish from Sam Hoskins. But for those who haven't been with us from the start, with Dave Victor from Leyton Orient, and Dave, probably good first 5-10 minutes for Northampton Town. Orient have come back into it, and then just at the end of the Orient good spell, the Cobblers have found the net.
That was the first real clear-cut chance of the game, wasn't it? Excellent finish, but Orient will be disappointed with the defending, I would have thought.
We are back underway, and it's Cisse left-footed into the Cobblers half. Joseph Mills, who, again, for those of you who weren't with us from the start, is playing a slightly unfamiliar left centre-back role, who heads away. We will just run through the Northampton Town lineup in a second for you. And I'll perhaps ask Dave, with his much improved or much deeper Orient knowledge than I, to run through the Orient formation in a second, as Missalou does some good defensive work and earns a free kick. So just a chance to run through the Northampton Town formation. It's Jonathan Mitchell in goal, Michael Harriman and Mark Marshall are wing-backs, Fraser Horsfall, Kian Bolger and Joseph Mills are the wing-backs. Christopher Missalou appears to have settled into a defensive midfield role. Ahead of him are Sam Hoskins and Ryan Watson. And then we've got Matt Warburton and trialist Antonio German up front. And Dave, I'll defer to you for the Leyton Orient formation.
Well, Lance Vigouroux is in goal in a 4-3-3 formation. Just a breakaway as Northampton come forward. Widdowson on the left side of the four-man defence. Happe and Coulson in the centre. Miles Judd is playing at right back. It's Leon Goal up front.
Yes. Yeah, it's Orient coming. Oh, free kick given to Orient now.
Chance to complete the lineup now, isn't there? So we're talking about the midfield. I broke away because I thought an attack was going to start, but it's Cisse in the centre of the midfield with Clay to his left and Dayton to his right. And up top we've got Sotirio on the left, Widdowson on the right, and Leon Goal is in the centre. The O's had one chance of note from an excellent corner early on from James Dayton. It found Dan Happe, but he couldn't find the target.
Orient free kick then. It's central. It's maybe 6 yards or so outside the D. The Cobblers will just being marched back by referee Dean Whitestone. There's a number of options over this for Orient. Angol is certainly one of them. Looks like it is going to be a shot at goal. Goalkeeper Mitchell just lining his wall up. And referee Dean Whitestone just talking to a couple of players on the edge of the wall, but Sam Hoskins is, I think, the one who is being spoken to. Cisse as well. But chance for it this. 1-0 to Northampton Town. If you're just joining us, Sam Hoskins has put the Cobblers ahead. But a moment of danger here. It is Angol who's entered over the wall, and it's a good strike, and it beats Mitchell but crashes into the crossbar. The ball bounces away, and it's still in Orient's possession, but back on halfway. It's Coulson who plays a long ball forward into the area, but Mitchell is quickly off his line and can gather.
Good free kick, wasn't it? I think the bar's still shaking. It was excellent and probably deserved a better result.
Is that something that Angol's known for, his set play threat?
There are so many options in terms of free kicks, not least with Jordan Maguire-Drew and of course Joby McAnuff.
Cobblers coming forward. It's Michael Harriman looking for Ryan Watson, but a little bit of a misunderstanding, and Cisse brings it forward. Now clears downfield for Orient. Kean Bolger, yesterday's new signing, or one of yesterday's 2 new signings, rises to head away. Orient keep possession. No, Joe Widowson, former Northampton Town loanee, on halfway line. Michael Harriman is there to press him. Widowson, left-footed, goes forward. It's now with Clay inside the Cobblers' half. He goes to the right-hand side. Now with James Dayton. Plays the ball forward to Angol, who is tripped by Bolger, and it's another Orient free kick. It's central again, but this time perhaps just a little bit further out.
Angol's looked very sharp. He had problems with injuries last season after a very good start to that campaign, having been signed from Shrewsbury Town. He scored 3 goals in the opening 2 pre-season friendlies.
He's certainly a man to be watched, and he was inches away from adding to that tally a few moments ago. I don't know if this free kick is maybe just a little bit too far out for a shot. It is central, so the angle...
Connor Wilkinson looks as if he's tempted, doesn't he?
He does. He's sent everyone else away. He's saying, this is mine, clear the area. The Cobblers are expecting a shot because a wall of 3 is in place. The referee with his magic spray has just told them where to go. They are now lined up, and it is a shot at goal, but it's low and into the wall, and the wall clears, but no one really seemed to know who was bringing that out of play, and Joseph Mills in the end says leave it to me and does clear the ball into the Orient half. Don't know if the feed was up when we were talking about Antonio German, but he's playing as a trialist for the Cobblers this afternoon. Playing up front, had a loan spell at the club under Andy King a few years ago. And the lot of a trialist is always a difficult one, Dave, isn't it? Because it's a two-way street. The trialist has a chance to impress, but often in pre-season, if there's an area of the team where the manager is maybe short of a body or two and he's got a few injuries and he doesn't want players to play more than the time that they're really due, he'll get a trialist in, and it fills a gap for him, but it also gives the trialists an opportunity to maybe impress if their performances show they can.
Yeah, you're quite right. Leyton had a trialist that featured both against Reading and Spurs, but he's not here today. There's no trialists involved in the Orient squad.
Now it's Fraser Horsfall. It's our first look at him, and the way they're lining up, he might have a long throw. He does go towards the near post. Cisse left-footed, clears away. I think it was heading out, and then it's quite a blustery day. The wind's kept it back into the area. Warburton lobs it over Vigouroux, but it's also over the far post and out for a goal kick to Leyton Orient. But just again, Dave, it seems after the first 10 minutes, just a couple of times the Cobblers have got in almost out of nothing, and that's perhaps something that Leyton Orient would just need to sharpen up on. Absolutely,
it was very similar for the goal that separates the two sides. We saw again a ball into the area, and Leyton Orient didn't really attack it, did they, to clear?
Vigouroux then, the Leyton Orient goalkeeper, left-footed down towards Wilkinson, but it's read by Mills, and he's first to it, clearing the ball out for a throw in to Orient. We are expecting, as is regular in pre-season matches, a host of substitutes to enter the fray. We'll run through them as they do, but what doesn't really help us as commentators, Dave, is the Cobblers are playing without numbers this afternoon, which doesn't make identification any easier when there are trialists. Just to say for those watching at home, there's no Nicky Adams, no Harry Smith, no Sean McWilliams, no Scott Pollock this afternoon. There's just a few knocks or a few bumps and bruises. They're being rested, nothing too serious. McWilliams coming back from a lengthy injury last season, of course. Fraser Horsfall with a volley down to halfway. Matt Warburton looks for German but can't quite find him. Now it's Widowson for the O's. Comes forward, he's under pressure from German, but he holds him off, although he plays a 1-2 with the referee inadvertently there, and he comes back with the ball halfway inside the Cobblers' half. Out to this left-hand side. Craig Clay on the ball. Back to Cisse. He's chosen to go backwards. Hape now with the left-footed ball down the line as it stayed in play. Just about goes out, and Horsfall there sees the ball out for a Northampton Town throw-in.
Northampton are very well organised, despite the fact that they've got all these trialists and new players featuring, and you saw it then before the interception of the referee, Joe Widdowson. He was surrounded by Northampton Town players. I think he found it very difficult to see a black shirt.
German skips past Widdowson well. German with a bit of space in front of him, plays the ball into there looking for Warburton, but Vigouroux read it well. He was quickly off his line and got there about a yard in front of Warburton, and he releases the ball quickly as well, and Orient now have a chance to try and break. It's Angol running at the Cobblers' defence. He's running at Bolger. He's got support on the overlap there from Leyton. Leyton tries to get across him, but the considerable frame of Kian Bolger blocks. It's a throw into Leyton Orient by the Northampton Town corner flag. Fullback Miles Judd is the man who's gone over on that far side to take it.
This game's being played at quite a quick tempo, isn't it?
It is. Obviously the heat of a week and a half ago has gone. It's a much cooler afternoon, but for what's still quite early in pre-season, the game is being played at a fairly quick tempo. Whether the host of substitutions we're expecting will change that, we'll see in the second half as Warburton looks to come forward, but Orient just about retain possession. Joe Widdowson, left-footed, looking for Wilkinson, but it's just over his head and out for a goal kick to the Cobblers. Just to pick up on a point you made, Dave, as I think we're heading for a drinks break halfway through the first half as Northampton Town lead through a Sam Hoskins goal. Just gives us a bit of time to sort of explore a point you touched on a few minutes ago about how organised Keith Curl's side are, and I think one of the real sort of attributes of Keith Curl's management, he's very good at spotting players who can fulfil certain roles in his team. He'll know how he wants his team to play, he'll know the jobs he wants each individual within that team to play, and what he's very good at is recruiting for those specific roles in mind. So a few times last season he plucked players out from, wouldn't say obscurity, but perhaps not players who would have been on everyone's mind at the time, and they actually came in, and because he knew the role that needed filling, they did a fantastic job for him. And perhaps Verdane Oliver's a good example of that, someone who's moved on to played a big part in the promotion and has moved on to League One into Gillingham. So I think what's interesting this summer is the likes of Fraser Horsfall and Kian Bolger, and a couple of the other signings. Missalou I'd put in that group. He's clearly got specific defined roles in mind, and even this early in pre-season you can see, even though they've only been training a few weeks, they already seem to know their roles.
And that's really impressive. Leyton Orient, it's a much more settled squad and situation, not least because of the upheaval at the start of the last campaign. And Ross Embleton, you know that he's definitely in charge now. Kent Teague, the vice chair, said he's got the job without the safety net now, and he seems to be enjoying the role. And there's a good mix and a good vibe in that squad. But this is the big test, no doubt about that one. It's been a huge difference in the lack of time on the ball that the O's have had so far compared to the other two pre-season friendlies, which is what you would expect, and it's what Leyton Orient wanted, and it's what they need as well. Yeah,
I guess for a League Two club to play a club that won promotion from League Two is almost the perfect pre-season test. It shows you the level you perhaps need to be looking to reach when the league games start in a few weeks' time.
Yes, and as you say, with Keith Curl's team, you know that it's going to be a team that's going to want to win every game. And I don't suppose there's anything really in terms of a friendly for Keith Curl. He'll want his lads to go out there and really give their all.
Yeah, he's competitive even at the head tennis at the end of training, even though he's playing every week on a Friday. He certainly doesn't want to lose. Right, the drinks break's over. We're about to get underway once more. Jonathan Mitchell with a goal kick, right-footed. It's a good kick as well. It's comfortably made it into the Orient half, headed away. Mills returns it with a bit of interest, but that looks like it's heading out for a throw into Leyton Orient over on that far side. It will be Miles Judd who's got the job of retrieving that ball and then taking the throw in once he has done. For those just coming onto the stream, it was a Sam Hoskins goal that has given Northampton Town the lead in this afternoon's pre-season fixture. Just to quickly run through the Cobblers bench, there's a few trialists amongst these names. Steve Arnold, the goalkeeper. Connor Johnson, a trialist centre-back. Samir Carruthers, a name a few people might recognise, is a trialist midfielder. Then Chris Lyons, Morgan Roberts, Jacob Ballinger, young first-year professional. Ethan Johnston, another first-year professional. Joe Martin and another trialist, Ricky Kabora. those are the players we might well see during the second half. As Ryan Watson plays it forward, looking for Harriman, but Widowson gets his head to the ball and the Cobblers have a throw. Fraser Horsfall, who's settling into that right centre-back role. Done okay so far this afternoon, finds Missalou. Missalou does look a busy player. He looks a sort of player who can get around the pitch. Not afraid of a tackle or two either. Fraser Horsfall again with the throw. He already shown he can reach the area with a long throw, but he goes short this time to Hoskins, gets it back. Now he's coming forward. Goes square to Mills, fellow new arrival. Mills out to Mark Marshall, left-hand side. Marshall, who can deliver a ball, he delivers a low cross on this occasion. Josh Coulson is in the way though, he clears. Helped out by Wilkinson. And the ball goes into the Cobblers' half, but there isn't an Orient shirt there, and I think Mitchell will let that ball run out of play for a goal kick to Northampton Town.
It was excellent work by Connor Wilkinson to regain possession for Leyton. He laid it out to Miles Judd, who hit the ball a bit too early, really, didn't he?
Yeah, as well, it's not always easy to tell from at this point, but just looking at the corner flags, particularly the one in the diagonal corner opposite us, that is taking quite a buffeting in the wind, and I think it is quite blustery down at pitch level. That won't help the players weight their passes. As Mitchell, right-footed, takes this goal kick, he again gets into the Orient half. Missalou flicks on. It's cleared away by Hape, and back with Mitchell once more.
If anything, the wind's on the backs of the Orient players in this first half, isn't it?
Yeah, it does often blow that way at the PTS Academy Stadium, towards the goal away to our left, the north stand. Fraser Horsfall now plays a ball forward. It's asking a few questions of Harriman, and it just rolls out of play for a throw-in. Again, we're seeing from the Cobblers though, Harriman, who's a full-back by trade, the wing-backs, they are playing high up the pitch, even though the Cobblers are into the wind. They're not afraid to get their wing-backs high up the pitch, and Keith Curl will often go one-on-one at the back, or sometimes, and it did cause a bit of consternation amongst the crowd when this first happened last season. He'll go less than one-on-one at the back. A few times opposition teams left 3 or 4 up when the Cobblers had a corner, and he would only leave 1 or 2 back. And the crowd got a little bit nervous, but they did eventually learn to trust his judgment on that. But it was quite an unorthodox tactic. Orient have possession on halfway through Satorio. Under a bit of pressure, Hoskins gets his foot into the ball and comes away with it, finds Matt Warburton. He turns, he's got Marshall away to his left, he uses him. Marshall just checks, running at his man, a step over, good ball in from Marshall, but well claimed by Vigouroux in the Orient goal. As we said earlier, Mark Marshall came on as a substitute in the playoff final at Wembley against Exeter City. So impressive when Nicky Adams, who's a key man, went down injured in the first half. He came on and really did impress with his performance. The January transfer window signing, Mark Marshall. As Ryan Watson strikes the ball against Lee Angol and wins Northampton Town a defensive throw.
Northampton beginning to dominate in terms of possession, aren't they? Making Leyton Orient work very hard.
Yeah, we've had a couple of chances, haven't they? They've had the header wide at the far post from the corner, and then the free kick from Angol that struck the crossbar powerfully. It's Sam Hoskins' goal that separates the two teams. Marshall picks up to Missalou, now to Mills, a little bit of space ahead of him. Mills making good progress, he's under pressure now, but he's still going, and he's been tripped there by Connor Wilkinson. So the Cobblers will have a free kick close to the corner of the Orient penalty area, and just like with Orient, as you said, Dave, there's a few candidates in this Northampton Town side as set-piece experts. Mills is there, Marshall's there, I think Warburton's there as well. Bolger and Horsfall adding their height to the penalty area. Referee Dean Whitestone marching the wall back the required distance. Looks like Mills, I think, who's going to take this left-footed. Bolger and Horsfall, no doubt, the targets at the back post. In fact, Marshall surprises me and plays it short to Hoskins. He gets a shot in, deflected, and I think Vigouroux just got a touch. Sent it away. It is indeed a corner to Northampton Town, but it took us all by surprise with that quick free kick.
It was a decent free kick, wasn't it? And the deflection, I'm not sure if it was the deflection that put it away for the corner or the touch from Lance Vigouroux.
Corner, as you can see from that corner flag, is in a bit of a wind tunnel in that far corner,
really can, can't you?
If the ball stays still long enough, it will be Mark Marshall, I think, to deliver. Again, Bolger and Horsfall, you would think the targets. It is Marshall, played to the far post. The heads go up. It's Liangol for Orient, who heads away, and the way it's fallen, Orient might have a chance of a bit of a break on here, but Michael Harriman reads the ball and recovers possession for the Cobblers, does well, finds Marshall on the right-hand side, bit of space to run at Widowson. Step over for Marshall, good cross to the far post, looking for Warburton, but Miles Judd did his defensive job well, tracked his man and got a good header away, and it's back to halfway, but Bolger gets his foot in, gives it to Watson, now to Harriman, now to Marshall. Widowson slides into clear. Watson is waiting to tidy up though. Cobblers just pinning Orient back a little bit at the moment. Mark Marshall with a number of Orient shirts around him. I think they were expecting the offside flag there, but it didn't come as Hoskins gives it to Marshall again. Marshall works a bit of space, crosses, but again it's Vigouroux's ball, and that's not the first time this afternoon he has come to claim. And he rolls, and the tempo's not letting up, Dave. It's still being played at a good pace.
It is very impressive, and it's Leyton Orient coming forward again with Miles Judd. But the final pass from the O's is going astray. It's letting them down at the moment, having sort of shown a lot more organisation at the back.
I think when managers build their pre-season plans, they want games where they're going to dominate the ball and score lots of goals, and they want games, we'll come back to that perhaps in a moment, as and goal for Orient just outside the area. Mills gets a foot in, but the danger's not completely over. I think Orient will settle for the corner here, indeed they will. Yeah, there'll be some games where managers want their team to dominate, so they get used to creating opportunities. There'll be some where they want them under pressure, and there'll be some where they want them to work hard for their opportunities, and that's possibly what Orient are getting this afternoon.
They certainly are, and the best opportunity so far has come from set pieces. A free kick from Liangol and a corner from James Dayton, and it's Dayton who's going to take this Leyton Orient second corner.
Indeed, a left-footed outswinger looks on the cards. A gathering of Orient shirts at the far post. I'm sure that's where this ball will be aimed. It is a left-footed outswinger played in. Mitchell comes for it, gets half a punch on it. The ball's not away. Cisse goes down, appeals for a penalty, and it was under pressure from Missalou. Referee says no, and it's Harriman leading a charge. It's 4-on-3 at the moment, but Harriman's ball's a bit loose, and the danger is away. Big shouts for penalty there, Dave.
Well, you can only imagine that the referee felt there was no intent, because there was definitely contact.
Yeah, there were one or two inquisitive looks, and played quickly, carried on. I think the Cobblers just got the ball out of that penalty area as quickly as they could, and Michael Harriman couldn't. It was a chance of a Cobblers break there if the ball had found its intended target, but Widowson now with a ball forward for Orient is looking for the run of Dayton, but Kian Bolger comes across, and as I think the reports on Kian Bolger says, he's a no-nonsense defender, and certainly there was no nonsense there.
Because we were talking about the penalty appeal, we didn't really talk about just how good that delivery for the corner was from James Dayton, and it caused problems, didn't it?
It did. Such a big part of the game these days, isn't it? The set-piece delivery, and if you've got a quality delivery and you've got some height in your side as well. You know, Wycombe Wanderers promoted from League One last year. The corners from Joe Jacobson. Looks like there's a coming together here. Ryan Watson's involved, and
Craig Clay.
Clay and Watson. I don't know if that's following on from the penalty appeal or whether this is something different, but referee Dean Whitestone is in there just trying to sort things out. Players from both sides having their say.
Cisse's sort of embracing Horsfall, isn't it?
I think Cisse is saying, leave this to me, I'll act as peacemaker. Certainly Watson and Cisse seem to be on good terms. If not, has the red card been shown, or is he leaving the field? Or
James Dayton's coming across, I'd imagine for a drink, more than anything else, because the referees asked the captains to come across, and Josh Coulson's involved together with Craig Clay.
I didn't see a card. Often in pre-season, if something goes on,
drink, isn't it?
Yeah, this is just a drink. Often in pre-season, if the referee wants it, he might invite the managers to make a substitution if that's what he wants to do. But I think on this occasion, he's perhaps just going to talk to the people he wants to talk to and hope that things calm down. It's a fairly lengthy discussion with Dean Whitestone chairing the meeting. Cisse and Watson still talking, and yep. It looks like things have been sorted out. James Dayton is making his way back on. He's making his way towards Ryan Watson. I don't know if they're shaking hands or continuing the debate.
They certainly didn't shake hands.
No, but that could be under COVID protocols. They're not allowed to,
maybe.
Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's hope that nothing more bubbles up. Let's hope that settles down and We're about to get underway again. Joe Widowson with a throw for Orient. Back to Cisse. Back to Widowson. Cisse again. He plays back, but German reads his intentions, and German now has a chance to travel with the ball. He's got Widowson for company, but he is still going. And in the end, Widowson gets a foot in, and German wins the Cobblers a throw in. Halfway into the Orient half. Horsfall, as has been the pattern of this first half so far, will take it. Short to Missalou, back to Horsfall, plays it high into the area. Germany's underneath it, but it's headed away. Watson tries to recover. He gets a tackle in, but thanks to the work of Connor Wilkinson, that will be a throw in too late. Orient. Wilkinson just closed Watson down quickly to mean he didn't have any opportunity to go forward.
Wilkinson did well then, but there was a conversation between Wilkinson and Watson immediately afterwards. It's not the friendliest of friendlies at the moment, is it?
No, and when the fixture was arranged, my mind did go back to what was quite a feisty league fixture between the two sides back in January down in London. A Tuesday night in January. It was a few days before the Cobblers' fourth round FA Cup game against Derby County, and Scott Wharton got sent off that night and ended up missing that FA Cup tie. I think it ended at 1-1 if my memory serves me right, with a late penalty for Orient after Ryan Watson, I think ironically, had put the Cobblers ahead early on in that fixture. But obviously personnel, particularly from a Cobblers point of view, it's probably about half the side that would have been involved that night and half the side who wouldn't have been. It's Orient in possession inside the Cobblers half, right hand side. Next to the man we've just been talking about, Leyton on the ball. Now with Cisse. Joe Widowson now. Back to Cisse. Cross to the far side to Judd. Wilkinson with the flick inside looking for Judd, but Missalou does enough to get his foot in, but not completely clear the danger. Cisse with a good ball up to the edge of the area looking for Angar. The ball's in the area, and Sam Hoskins does enough to hold his man off and give goalkeeper Mitchell enough time to come and claim.
It was good work from Cisse. It was one of the better passes that Angar has had in this game.
Yeah, Cisse's seen a fair bit of the ball in his first half. The very much a left-footed midfielder. It looks like he likes to use his left foot and send passes forward. The ball looks like it's working its way back to Lawrence Vigouroux in the Orient goal. Indeed it is. And he sends it down to halfway, where Bolger will tidy up. Right-footed he returns, and that will be a throw-in after a pretty impressive header from
Sam Ling.
Well, yes, done himself no
stood up
favours
to
there.
do that one, didn't he?
Yeah, with no real room to operate, being sat in the seats, he did well there. Good contact. Anyway, back to on the pitch. Fraser Horsfall sends it forward, headed away. Angle just inside the Cobblers half, quickly under pressure from Missalou. Widowson just beats Harriman to the ball. Tackles are flying in for a pre-season game, and Horsfall there penalised for a foul. One or two words being exchanged, and he'd be forgiven for thinking there was 3 points at stake this afternoon. But look, if managers want games to be played to get you ready, I think both sides are getting plenty out of this workout.
They are. It's a proper football match, this one.
Joe Widowson it will be then. With this free kick, it's a yard or two inside the Northampton Town half, wide left. And he was shouting from the Cobblers' back line, ensuring their line is in the correct place. Widowson now takes it forward, and it's headed away by Mark Marshall. Not always known for his aerial ability, but he meant that one well. Orient throw just on halfway. Sam Hoskins with the only goal so far, but it's been a friendly, to use its official term, played at a high tempo. The tackles have been flying in. There's been one or two words exchanged at times, and certainly if the two teams were looking for a competitive workout to see where they are in terms of their pre-season preparations, this could quite easily be mistaken for being a Sky Bet League match if you didn't know it was a pre-season fixture.
It's been a good game. Orion's best chances have all come from set pieces, and that will be the concern for Ross Embleton. They want to see something better from open play.
Ironically, that's perhaps something Keith Curl we know will work on, the strength of set plays, because he puts a high price on the importance of set plays. Orient might have a chance to break here. Angle with a good ball inside, and Sartorio can come forward for Orient. He's gone past one challenge. He's still going forward, 25 yards from goal, strikes it. He took the option of a shot. It was a good run. He just maybe had an option to his right-hand side, but in the end his shot was over the bar. But a good driving run there from the Orient man.
He's an ambitious young man. It was the first time we were just saying that we needed something from open play. And also Turio, he created the space for himself. As you say, he had options to his left, but also to his right, particularly James Dayton. But he went for goal, and if it had come off, we'd be saying what a great strike.
Easy game from up here. Jonathan Mitchell with this goal kick for Northampton Town. German looks to target the Cobblers trialist. In fact, it seems to hold up in the wind a little bit. It's the first time we've really noticed the Cobblers, who are against the wind. First time it's really come into play, and Orient can build another attack. Just looking for the run on the far side of Dayton. I think the ball was picked up by the wind on that occasion, and it'll be a throw in a defensive position. As you can probably see, that corner flag being blown around by a fairly blustery wind. Hard to think that a week and a half ago it was in the high 30s and roasting hot. Certainly not that this afternoon. It's probably ideal. If you could take the wind away, the temperature's ideal for football. It's just the wind that is making things a bit difficult. Anyway, Mills throws into the wind, headed back, but Missalou gets it away. And the whistle goes for a free kick on Ryan Watson.
That Clay Watson duel is quite something at the moment, isn't it?
It is. I don't know if Ryan Watson's done something to accept someone, but he's been on the end of a couple of challenges there. So he's a combative player. Ryan Watson, a goal scorer at Wembley in the playoff final, of course, got the important early goal to set the Cobblers on the way to that 4-0 win over Exeter City a couple of months ago. Saying after that game, he's never actually played in League One. He's won promotion from League Two a couple of times, but this will be the first time he's actually stepped up to League One, so he's looking forward to that. Good touch from Hoskins, finds Warburton. His shot is charged down well by Daniel Happe, and Orient will look to clear. Sam Hoskins a couple of times now has picked up balls in that little pocket, what you might call the number 10 role. Showed good touch, good control, and it was a deft little finish from him. We will have highlights available later for those of you joining the stream late, but it's the Sam Hoskins goal that is the only one so far. As Orient look to come forward, Watson has tracked his man well, and Kian Bolger sees it out of play, does he? He does just. It was one of those that it wasn't quite going out of play, but Bolger at 6'4" has got long enough legs and a big enough frame just to buy himself those crucial extra few seconds. And Fraser Horsfall, the right-sided centre-back, will take this throw in. Throws it down the line. As the half-time whistle blows, Northampton Town leading by a goal to nil at half-time, thanks to that strike from Sam Hoskins. We've touched on it already, Dave, but a high-tempo first half, quite a feisty first half on occasions, and I think both players will have felt the benefit of that.
Absolutely. We knew that this was going to be Leyton Orient's toughest test so far, and that's been the case. They've gone very close from set plays. We've seen Leanne Goals' free kick hit the crossbar, an excellent corner from James Dayton, and Dan Happy's header should have found the target. But I would imagine Ross Embleton and the Orient coaching staff will be concerned about the manner in which Northampton were able to score their goal, but it was an excellent strike.
It was indeed. A good strike from Sam Hoskins. So it's half-time here then at the PTS Academy Stadium. Northampton Town 1, Leyton Orient 0. Please join us back here in around 15 minutes' time for the second half. Welcome back to the PTS Academy Stadium for the second half of this afternoon's pre-season fixture between Northampton Town and Leyton Orient. We'll try and work out the difficulty, of course, with all pre-season games is trying to work out exactly what change has been made. I think from a Northampton Town point of view, the only change is Steve Arnold in goal replacing Jonathan Mitchell. I'm sat socially distanced alongside Dave Victor from fantastic Leyton Orient knowledge. Dave, I'm going to need to rely on your Leyton Orient knowledge to let me know if there have been any Orient changes at the break.
I don't think there have been. I understand that what they're going to be doing now is to give players very close to 90 minutes. So whereas before players were sort of changed en masse on the hour mark, I don't think that'll be quite the same today. I understand the reason why Joby McAnuff isn't playing is again about sort of just managing time rather than injuries or knocks.
Okay, we'll have a look then through the Northampton Town lineup. It's Steve Arnold who is the one replacement in goal. Fraser Horsfall, Kian Bolger and Joseph Mills are the three centre-backs. Michael Harriman and Mark Marshall are the wing-backs. Christopher Missalou, Sam Hoskins and Ryan Watson in midfield, with Matt Warburton and trialist Antonio German up front. Joseph Mills just looks like he's got a kick in the back there, bottom of his back. Maybe just give you a chance, Dave, to run through the Orient formation, please.
No changes at the break for the O's, so it's Lance Vigouroux in back, Judd on the right, Widdowson on the left, with Coulson and Happy in the centre of the defence. In the centre of midfield is Cisse, Clay to his left, Dayton to his right, and Widdowson's playing on the right side of a three-man attack with Sotirio on the left, and Leon Gol, who was denied by the woodwork in the first half, in the centre of the O's attack.
Just to tidy up the team news from a cobbler's point of view, there's a few players who are here but just resting a few bumps and bruises. Nicky Adams, Sean McWilliams, Harry Smith, Scott Pollock amongst them, and Luka Racic signing on loan from Brentford yesterday for the season. He hasn't trained fully yet, so he wasn't considered for today, but we will no doubt see him in the matches that lie ahead. 1-0 to the Cobblers then is the score. Sam Hoskins with a neat little volley on around 15 minutes, separating the two sides. And as Dave mentioned, the O's coming closest through a free kick from Angol that rattled the crossbar. Jonathan Mitchell's woodwork in the first half. And it's that man Angol who's on the ball now, crossing the halfway line. Ryan Watson comes just to try and interrupt his stride, and the Cobblers at least get the ball away for a throw-in, which Joe Widdowson, a former Northampton Town player under Adi Boothroyd back a few years ago, he takes. Back to halfway, the ball played forward. Fraser Horsfall looked like a thigh in for the Cobblers and clears again to halfway, just slightly scrappy at the start of this second period. Cisse though tries to calm things down a little bit. Gets possession back for Orient. The ball forward though is read by Kian Bolger, the considerable frame of Kian Bolger, and he clears down to halfway. German, the trialist, does well, just couldn't quite take the ball into his stride, and the Cobblers through Mills are forced backwards.
The wind's still a big factor, isn't it? And it's going to be on the backs of the Northampton Town players in this second half. Yeah,
it is. It's a blustery day, certainly down at pitch side, and it looks like the Cobblers will have this wind advantage in the second half as Marshall's throw finds Sam Hoskins, who's travelling forward. Plays a ball out to Michael Harriman, right-hand side. He comes inside Widdowson. Plays a good little reverse pass to Warburton. Warburton's shot deflected into the side netting. Vigouroux, I think, perhaps got a touch as well. It'll be a corner to the Cobblers.
Good move from Northampton. It was the pace of the attack that seemed to unlock the Leyton Orient defence then.
Yeah, for those of you who weren't with us in the first half, we have touched on it a few times that for pre-season friendly, this game has been played in quite a competitive spirit and at quite a high tempo, which I'm sure is exactly what both managers will be looking for. Marshall stands over this corner. Mills is nearby should he need help, but Marshall delivers into the air. Watson was arriving, just couldn't quite make the connection. And Orient will clear down towards Sotirio on halfway. He holds the ball up well under pressure, brings it down, goes to ground, wants a free kick, but Dean Whitestone, the referee, isn't obliging. Missalou now for the Cobblers. He's got Marshall outside him. Marshall running at Widdowson. Gets a cross in, but Widdowson does well. Gets the block in, and for the second time in a matter of moments, the Cobblers have a corner over on their right-hand side.
He held up play very well initially, Sotirio, that then clearly wanted the free kick. He's still arguing about it, but you've got to play to the whistle.
It's one of those moments where the player holds the ball up and, as you say, tries to buy a free kick just to relieve a bit of pressure, buy themselves a bit of time. Didn't come off on that occasion. Looks like a change of taker for the Cobblers. Joseph Mills, known as something of a set-piece expert from Forest Green, will deliver this one left-footed. He does, into the near post. It's a good delivery, and it's an excellent claim by Vigouroux. Looks like the Mills delivery was aimed for Hoskins, who was stood almost next to the goalkeeper, but Vigouroux showed good strength to claim.
He did, and no doubt the Northampton man was looking to play the wind as much as anything else then, wasn't he?
Yeah, it is a bit of a wind tunnel down at pitch side, as Orient just looked to build into the Northampton Town half. It's Wilkinson with a good ball inside, and he's found Leyton travelling towards the Cobblers' defence. Mills puts him off. Can't clear the danger completely though. Orient have two men over at the far post, and it's Wilkinson brings it down but can't quite get the shot away, and Kian Bolger will happily run away from the goal in possession of the ball. Bolger just plays the ball looking out for Marshall. Can he keep it in? Yes, he can. Now German turns away from his man. He recovers his footing. He's travelling towards the penalty area, but he's out-muscled there by the recovering Daniel Happe. So good strength there did the Orient centre-back to just get in German's way.
It was a good ball a little while ago from Clay to find Wilkinson. I'll be disappointed that he couldn't get his shot away. That was the first real time in that Leyton Orient had opened up the Northampton Town defence. I think both players were onside.
Yeah, it's I think they sort of in just that one of them seemed to at least look to the linesman in just that half a second. It just caused perhaps a slight delay and interrupted the flow of the attack. But Orient have a free kick midway inside their own half. Vigouroux has come out from his area to take. He is aiming towards Wilkinson on this near side. Missalou reads it though, and the ball just holding up in the wind and allowing Missalou to volley deep into the Orient half. German putting Josh Coulson under pressure, but Orient deal with things just about there through Judd, who gets a ricochet off his own standing leg, and now Cisse has a bit of space to move into. Travelling well, crosses the halfway line. Joe Widowson now. Forward on the far side to Craig Clay, back to Cisse. Widowson has continued his run and Cisse is looking for him, but Fraser Horsfall reads his intentions and heads away and sends a ball into the Orient half. It's looking for the run of Warburton. It's asking a few questions. Daniel Happe does well though. He keeps his composure and clears, and not only that, he finds Cisse.
Happe's shirt was being pulled then, wasn't it?
It was. I think had he have lost possession, he might well have been brought back to be awarded a free kick, but the referee seemed to be happy to let an advantage go. Ball into James Dayton now. He's got an opportunity to run at Horsfall here. He's up against Horsfall, but the tackle comes in. He goes to ground on the edge of the area looking for a penalty. The referee says no.
Second penalty appeals Leyton Orient had in the game. I think the first one was the stronger one.
It was. That was Bolger, my apologies. Kian Bolger with the tackle. Orient do have a throw. Ryan Watson clears, and on this occasion the whistle does go. Lee Angol penalised for a foul on Ryan Watson. Ryan Watson's been at the centre of most of the feisty moments, shall we say, in this afternoon's game so far.
Yes, there was that instant with Craig Clay towards the end of the first half, and as you say, you know, we knew this was going to be a competitive game, and Watson hasn't pulled out of any tackles.
Yeah, Keith Kill's the sort of manager that he won't shy away from pre-season games that might get tasty, shall we say. He's happy for his players to be put through the tests. Steve Arnold, first real touch for him. The Cobblers goalkeeper at Wembley a couple of months ago in the playoff final. He sends it downfield. Cisse gets his head to the ball and heads away. It will be a throw into Northampton Town that Joseph Mills, playing a slightly unfamiliar left centre-back role, will take. Expect to see Mills more as a left wing back when the season gets underway. Watson there has gone to ground. Again, Watson involved in the centre of things. I think he's okay. He's climbing back to his feet.
He got caught by Connor Wilkinson, but I thought it was a case of getting caught rather than a foul being committed. And the referee seemed to agree. Certainly no foul given as Clay comes forward for Orient, but Horsfall reads his intentions. He's been quite impressed with Horsfall this afternoon in his first appearance. Sends the ball forward. Miles Judd reads it though, and forward Missalou, in fact Missalou and Mills, and now Bolger are out of the game temporarily as Orient come through Connor Wilkinson. They've got men over. It's
Sotorio just got to the edge of the area, gets a low shot in. Arnold gets behind it and gathers at the second attempt. But just for a moment there, Orient had some spare men going forward.
They did, and not for the first time Sotorio went for goal rather than give the ball to James Leyton, who was screaming it to his right-hand side. On this occasion, he got the ball on target. If anything, it was too close to the goalkeeper.
Marshall with the ball for the Cobblers, left-hand side. He's running at Judd. Comes up to the edge of the area, delivers a cross in. Judd half blocks. Marshall tries to get to the second ball. He does successfully, but Judd is still in attendance. Marshall tries to create half a yard to deliver. He does deliver a cross. I think it's deflected. It is. It's a corner. I wonder if we're just seeing in the last few minutes the first signs of the game stretching out a little bit. Normally it perhaps wouldn't happen till 75, 80 minutes, but because it's pre-season after a long gap, maybe that happens just a little bit earlier. And I just wondered in those last two attacks where both sides got a little bit of space going forward if we're just seeing the first signs of the match opening out. But anyway, Cobblers have a corner. It will be Mills, left-footed out swinger. Bolger's forward, Germans forward, Horsfall's forward. Mills sends it over to the far post, but in fact, and on a blustery afternoon, there's no surprise in that. It's picked up by the wind and overhit. Throwing to Orient, and I think the Cobblers are about to make a change. No numbers for Northampton Town this afternoon, so I believe this is another trialist coming on, Connor Johnson. And it looks like Ian Bolger, the signing from Lincoln City yesterday, is the man who's going to make well. It's been a good workout for Bolger, good first workout in the Cobbler shirt. And the trialist Connor Johnson will take his place.
Yes, I mean, Angola and Wilkinson in particular have made Bolger work hard on his first appearance for the Cobblers.
Yeah, first glance on Bolger, I think, is exactly what he says on the tin. I think he's a defender, does the basics of defending well, strong in the tackle, dominant in the air, will clear things. Exactly as Keith Kell likes his defenders to do, really. Just keep things not complicated. But Orient now have a chance to break at pace through Clay on their left-hand side. Is making his way forward. Horsfall is in pursuit. Missalou comes to help out. But Clay keeps possession, but he's forced back. Cisse spreads play to this near side. Will Orient keep the ball in play? They do, but only at the expense of giving it to Marshall. Mills goes back to Arnold. He gets a good left-footed connection down towards halfway. Towards Warburton, just about beats Cisse to the second ball, and now good pass out to Harriman, right hand side, bit of space for Harriman to travel here, running at Widowson, plays the ball on, looking for the run of German. Can he get round his man? Just about he does, but the recovering Daniel Happe gets a foot in and is conceding the corner there.
Happe did well. Again, concerned that the ball got into the Leyton Orient penalty in the way that it did, but the point that you made a few moments ago, this game is definitely getting stretched, isn't it?
Yeah, normally in a mid-season game you might see it 75, 80 minutes in, particularly if one side's chasing the match. Expected to come earlier at the moment because of course these players are partway through a pre-season campaign which is about building fitness and match fitness in particular ahead of the season opener, which for most clubs is on September the 5th in the Carabao Cup first round. Cardiff City at home for the Cobblers.
Oldham away for Leyton Orient.
Mark Marshall with this corner then, the referee just wanting a word.
Oh sorry, Forest Green in the Cup and Oldham at the start of the season.
I think it's Horsfall and Cisse having a chat with Dean Whitestone. He seems happy for things to continue. A bit of pushing and shoving carries on as you'd expect as Marshall delivers. Watson flicks the ball on. It seems to go through a number of legs and makes its way out to this near side. Sam Hoskins is in quick pursuit, but Orient will bring it away. Harriman on halfway line has tripped Sotorio. Orient will have a free kick, but the Cobblers have bought themselves enough time to get some claret shirts back in a defensive position, although I don't know if you caught any of Steve Arnold's reaction. He wasn't happy with the setup there. Apologies if any of the language did come through. Orient have possession just inside their own half. It's played forward by Josh Coulson. Connor Wilkinson, the trialist who's just come on, is underneath it. Gets it half away. Marshall has some defending to do and Mills comes to his assistance. Warburton loses possession though. Coulson again for Orient. Now with Widowson. Now Cisse again. Just held by Warburton, and indeed the referee spots that. Free kicks Orient just inside the Northampton Town half. Sam Hoskins with the only goal of the game so far, 15 minutes in. Another Northampton Town trialist. Samir Carruthers, probably the most high profile of the trialists, just goes to warm up down in front of us. No signs of activity on the Orient bench yet. Dave, you were saying earlier you think they're looking to build the minutes up amongst the players who are out there.
They are, yes. I think most of them will get 80 minutes.
So many of the substitutions will probably come from the home bench as this second half goes on. We do expect to see another 7 or 8 changes made. We'll bring you those as they happen. Wilkinson using his strength against Horsfall on that far side. But the Cobblers have a throw.
Danny Johnson warming up at the moment, scored an excellent goal. Leyton Orient 6th on Wednesday night against Spurs.
You were saying earlier that 2 Orient friendlies before today were under 23 games against Reading and Tottenham.
And James Brophy is also warming up, and I think the first change for the O's will be James Brophy. It'll be interesting to see where he can play. He can, of course, play either at left back or on the left wing.
Brophy will have fond memories of this ground. I think it was his goal last season.
What a goal it was as well, and a fantastic pass from Matt Howard, who's now joined the coaching team at Leyton Orient.
Changes for the Cobblers. Joe Martin for Joseph Mills and Samir Carruthers for Matt Warburton, I think. And also for Orient, it looks like...
Soterio is the man that's coming off.
And as you said, James Brophy is the man who will replace him. So Samir Carruthers, former Sheffield United, Milton Keynes Dons.
Will had a little bit of illness, and therefore he didn't play against Reading, so he hasn't had as many minutes under his belt as some of the other players. So I'd imagine this is just about sort of managing his minutes on the field time.
Well, for those players who are building their minutes up this afternoon, it's been a straight into the deep end into a competitive fixture, because although it might be billed as a friendly, there's been no let up in the tempo or the intensity of the game. For this is, to all intents and purposes, a league game, I think, in the way it's been played. Cobblers preparing to make possibly more changes, and Ricky Kabora is the one who is getting his instructions, so we might see shortly. This is often where, Dave, isn't it, pre-season games just break up a little bit. The tempo goes as the changes are made, and it takes a little bit of time to just sort of recover the same intensity that the game had.
Yes, I don't think that'll be the case for the O's, because it's like for like, and James Brophy is filled in that place on the left side of Leyton Orient's attack.
Be interesting to see how the Cobblers adjust to the changes, but for now it's Orient in possession over on their left-hand side. A ball up through to the edge of the area for Angali. Tries to come out to this near side, but Joe Martin reads his intentions, and Hoskins just couldn't find German. Tried to go into his feet, and German was expecting a ball over the top. So it's picked up again by Orient. James Dayton on the Orient right, coming up against Joe Martin. Dayton held up, but there's a good ball in. Widowson in space, central, 25 yards from goal. Just shifts the ball out to the left-hand side, and the low shot comes in. I think it may even have just kissed the outside of the post there, but good early action from James Brophy.
Oh, that was a great strike from James Brophy. The best shot we've seen in open play from the O's.
PA announcer just announcing the change. I never envy that job on a pre-season fixture, because there are so many changes, particularly with the Cobblers players, as you may have noticed, not wearing any numbers this afternoon. It just adds a level of complexity. Anyway, we can be sure it is Steve Arnold with a goal kick for Northampton Town, that much I can tell you. The sun just gone in temporarily, it's a cloudier afternoon. Arnold into the Orient half, headed for by Clay. Joe Martin heads away. Free kick to Leyton Orient. Cisse stands over it. Samir Carruthers has gone into a secondary striker role. Antonio German, the trialist, so it's 2 trialists up front for the Cobblers. Harry Smith scored a hat-trick in the game against the youth team in the week. He's just took a bit of a knock in that game, so he's missing out. Nicky Adams, Scott Pollock, Sean McWilliams also have minor knocks, and Ratic, the centre-back who joined the club yesterday, we expect to see him in future matches, as Joe Martin wins a couple of headers to clear the ball away. Hoskins and Missalou between them get the ball away thanks to an acrobatic clearance from the former Oldham man. In midfield now with James Dayton. Brian Watson with another foul. He's probably not best friends with too many in that Leyton Orient midfield.
No, you saw you right then, didn't you? It was just caught James Brophy from behind.
What would have probably annoyed them further was Ryan Watson who scored the goal in the last league fixture.
And Clay
these two,
and Watson again involved.
Yeah, just off the ball there. Watson, none too happy with that. Well, I'm sure there's more to come in that particular episode as Marshall travels forward, left-hand side, tries to just play the ball out in front of him. He's coming up by the corner flag, but he tries to work a crossing opportunity, gets the ball in, but the sting is taken out of the cross, and it's cleared towards Angol on halfway. Wilkinson heads to Horsfall, his central defensive colleague. who gives it back to Wilkinson. Trialist centre-back. Wolverhampton Wanderers is his current club. Sam Hoskins back to Horsfall. And Horsfall, right-footed, gets the ball forward. Cleared away there by Miles Judd for Orient, but not completely away. And Carruthers has the ball, but Cisse gets a foot in, and Orient look to build once more. Just a little bit scrappy in midfield, but good play there from Connor Wilkinson to jinx through 3 or 4 challenges, and teammate Joe Widdowson now has the ball. Plays the ball out to the left-hand side, looking for the run of Brophy, but Horsfall was alive to that and slides in. Been a good performance from Fraser Horsfall, I think, so far, showing some of the potential Keith Curl believes he has. And after the way he developed Charlie Good over the last 12 months or so, Good joining Brentford this week, of course, then he certainly can spot a centre-half. Just Orient, as you might expect, Dave. Orient having a good spell, not many changes from the O's, and as the Cobblers make changes, Orient enjoying more possession.
Yes, and Connor Wilkinson on the ball at the moment has looked very sharp, and he goes for goal.
Long range effort from Wilkinson. He struck it well, but it sat up nicely for Steve Arnold.
He was another player that had a lot of time out with injury last season, and if he was able to have a full campaign, he would be a massive factor in Leyton Orient's fortunes.
Certainly brings a physicality to the Orient forward line, and coming in from that right-hand side, German there with a push in the back. So Orient have a free kick, and you have to say Josh Coulson was probably glad of that little push in the back, because it was one of those awkward ones where the ball was bouncing high and he was being forced towards his own goal.
Especially with the wind.
Indeed. More changes for the Cobblers then. We are about to see Ricky Kabora come on for Mark Marshall, and I think Chris Lyons for Sam Hoskins will be the other change. I'll try and give you the formation in a few moments, but don't hold me to it. It looks like Chris Lyons is going to play in an advanced midfield role, and Ricky Kabor will come out into the left wing-back position. So, just to quickly run through things, then Arnold in goal, Horsfall, Wilkinson and Martin across the back, Watson, Missalou, Lyons in midfield, Harriman and Kabor as wing-backs, and Carruthers and German as strikers. Just looking from the Cobblers' point of view, I think there's probably only Horsfall and Watson and Harriman who started the game, and I think if the Orient players could pick anyone's goal, it would have been Watson, but he's one of the few who have remained. So that man Ryan Watson is on the ball, certainly not afraid to get involved, and good little step over, tries to ping a ball at his near side. It is a good ball as well, and German will just about keep it back. He's supported by Kabora. Chris Lyons just outside the area. Former Sheffield Wednesday and Bristol Rovers man here. Feints to play the ball outside. He's in the end supported by Missalou just outside the area. Back to Watson. Now Michael Harriman. Horsfall, right-footed, decides it's time for the ball to go into the area. But it's, in fact, I was going to say it's overhit, but the wind might hold this up. But no, it is out of play for an Orient throw in a defensive position.
It just showed how blustery this wind is. It must be so difficult for the players to judge it. Interesting that Ross Embleton's checking his watch. He's got 3 substitutes warming up. There could be more changes for Leyton Orient. Is this a drinks break?
I think it is. I think it's the midway drinks break in the second half, and the game's continued its intensity, perhaps not quite at the same tempo, but with the amount of changes, particularly the Cobblers have made, that's maybe to be expected, and as players build fitness, you'd perhaps expect the pace to drop anyway. But certainly the intensity, the edge is still there to the game, isn't it?
It is, and Leyton Orient have been creating better opportunities in open play, and I think James Brophy's introduction has provided a little bit more pace to the Orient attack.
We hope you're enjoying this game at home, being streamed on both the Northampton Town and Leyton Orient YouTube channels. The viewing figures were pretty good at half time. I think around 3,000 people across the two clubs were watching the game in the first half. If you are just joining us, Sam Hoskins, who has left the field since, substituted. He scored on around 15 minutes. Deft little volley. Orient have hit the woodwork a couple of times. And there's the two players just get instructions, have a breather, have a drink. We'll be set for the final quarter of this afternoon's game. Who's next on the Orient pre-season schedule, Dave?
We've got young West Ham United side coming on Wednesday night. So the O's have had plenty of opportunity again to manage those minutes for a squad that carrying a couple of injuries, but nothing to worry about so far. Louis Dennis, I think, is probably the most disappointing player because he looked so sharp early on. He's got a bit of a knock. I think Brendan Shabani is also carrying a bit of an injury at the moment, but nothing to worry about as we look ahead to the opening day of the season.
For the Cobblers, next up, it's a game here next Saturday lunchtime against Leyton Town, 1:30 for that one. We hope the Cobblers fans amongst this stream will join us for that. As the ball is played downfield, this is one, is it maybe for Steve Arnold? Well, Fraser Horsfall, I think, is dealing with it, and he does well there. It's one of those awkward ones between defender and goalkeeper, but Horsfall took charge and was able to find Michael Harriman, who I think has won the Cobblers a throw off Joe Widowson. Indeed, he has over on that far side. That's the Northampton Town right. Seeing if there's any Northampton Town players we haven't yet seen. It's we haven't yet seen the youngsters Morgan Roberts, Jacob Ballinger and Ethan Johnston. So they are still substitutes that Keith Curl is able to make. Often in pre-season though, isn't it? It's about minutes. They'll come into the game with a set idea of how long they want each player to play, and when they reach 50, 60, 70 minutes, then the changes will be made. But obviously the COVID restrictions, I'm sure Orient have found the same, Dave, that the COVID restrictions have made things more difficult. For example, we can't mix and match the youth team, so there's a number of trialists here today, but we couldn't bring players in from the youth team because under the COVID rules your first team has to be separate from your youth team, and they have two different sets of fixtures and neither shall cross into the other. So that's just an added little complication for managers looking to manage minutes, hence why we see often, particularly from a Cobblers point of view today, a clutch of trialists looking to stake their claim, as Fraser Horsfall will take what could well be a long throw. 15 yards from goal, short to lines, back to Horsfall, who doesn't make the connection he was looking for. Missalou tidies up, but he sends it out of play. Thrown to Leyton Orient, which Joe Widdowson will take.
The O's are having more of the possession now, aren't they?
They are. Nothing too much yet for Steve Arnold. With the one save that from Brophy seconds after he came on that I don't know if Arnold got a touch onto, but it seemed to kiss the outside of the post. Wilkinson will look to get above Martin here. I think he does, and if he does, as he has, then Orient have an opportunity. Angle coming forward, Wilkinson, the Northampton Town trialist Wilkinson that is. He's back there, but excellent play there. The ball coming into Brophy with a chance to deliver low into the area. But the Cobblers have a free kick. Just good defending there. Experienced defending from Joe Martin. But again, just an opportunity for Orient.
Yeah, I think a little push from Connor Wilkinson, but it was good approach play. And again, you saw James Brophy sort of asking the questions of the Cobblers' defence.
Yeah, Brophy's just added a little something for Orient since he's come on. Certainly, Horsfall's got his hands full over on that far side. Cobblers happy to go 3-on-3 at the back, as they often do. The wing-backs are seen more as wingers than full-backs. Steve Arnold gets some good distance into the Orient half on this free kick. Brophy again with the ball. He's going to try and flick it over Horsfall and make its way forward. He does. Horsfall recovers, but Brophy is supported by Clay on the overlap. Clay gets across him. Ryan Watson attracts his run, and Ryan Watson, thanks to defensive work, sees the initial danger away, but Orient do have a corner.
It was a good pass from James Brophy after an excellent bit of skill to initially create the opening. It
was. Corner to Leyton Orient on that far side there left. James Dayton will be the man to send the ball into the penalty area. The Cobblers just having to reorganise, given there's not too many of the players who started on the field. Clutch of Orient players all gathered together towards the far post. Cobblers going for their zonal marking system. Left-footed outswing corner to be delivered, and here it comes. It's over. Ryan Watson rises highest, heads, I would say away, but actually it's back to the taker. Ball is delivered to the second time, looking for the head of Connor Wilkinson. He meets it well enough, but he can't get enough power onto it to trouble Steve Arnold.
No, good cross from James Dayton. And Dayton's corners have caused a few problems for Northampton Town, haven't they?
They have. Nicky Adams, one of the players not involved this afternoon, just leaves his seat to head down. I think we might need a change of ball here.
He's a good player, isn't he? Made a real impact in his time at Leyton Orient. He was talking to Colin West, talking about former Leyton Orient players, but they're now on the coaching staff here, isn't he?
He is. Keith Gill's assistant manager, who's sat a few rows in front of us to our right-hand side. I think the ball just being changed. That's not as simple as it once was, of course. You've got to make sure the ball that you switched has been sanitised and cleaned and is ready for use. You might notice there's a few balls propped on cones around the edge of the pitch, and they're ready for use. Anyway, Steve Arnold's happy, the referee's happy, and away we go again. Arnold clears into the Orient half. Now it's with Kabora for Northampton Town. Shows a neat step over or two. Samir Carruthers, another trialist. Ball into Chris Lyons, shooting opportunity. Lyons curls it. Oh, and again, not for the first time this afternoon, the outside of the woodwork is hit. It was a good low finish, a good low drive, I should say, from Lyons. Curled round Vigouroux, kissed the outside of the post and bounced away.
Good player, isn't he, Chris Lyons?
He's a good player. He scored the goal of the season for the Cobblers last season. A superb back post volley against Morecambe in January. Morgan Roberts is the latest substitute coming on. Waiting to see who's going off. Is it Fraser Horsfall on that far side? I think it is Fraser Horsfall on that far side, which means Michael Harriman, the wing back, will step back into a centre back role. But Horsfall, I think, has done well this afternoon. He can be pleased with his first workout in a Cobbler's shirt. So still the pain for Leyton Orient. Ryan Watson survives. He's certainly getting some minutes into his belt. In the centre of the Cobblers midfield, he's certainly the one that's making sure the Orient midfield are having a physical battle out there this afternoon. If Leyton can keep this in, which he can, he's got a chance to come forward, but Wilkinson for Northampton Town, that's Connor Wilkinson, the trialist, comes across to cover. Joe Martin goes to ground a little bit easily, shall we say, but the referee does give Northampton Town a free kick. For the Cobblers fans watching, that was very Charlie Good. They'll know what I mean by that. Charlie Good made a bit of a name for himself of winning free kicks in defensive positions, and that was right out of his textbook. Steve Arnold comes out to take this free kick for Northampton Town. We're into the last quarter of this afternoon's match. Sam Hoskins with the only goal so far as Northampton Town lead by 1-0. Steve Arnold down into the Orient half, headed away. Chris Lyons heads forward, but headed away once more by Daniel Happe. Arnold out from his area, looking for Kabor on this near side, but I think Judd will see the ball out of play. He will. What do you think Ross Embleton will take from this afternoon's game, Dave, as we enter the last sort of 15-20 minutes?
Well, I think he'll be pleased that his players have had a proper workout, and this really has been. I think he'll be encouraged by the fitness and sharpness of the likes of Leanne Goal and Connor Wilkinson and James Brophy. Rossaturio has also had a couple of shots of note. The defence has been better organised since they've conceded in the goal, and that would probably be the biggest concern. Although it was a well taken shot, the defence definitely was opened up with a simple pass into the penalty area, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think from a Northampton perspective, what Keith Curl will take from this afternoon, it's something you touched on yourself earlier in the game, that even though the personnel has changed, even though the substitutions have been made, everyone seems to know their specific role they've got to carry out, and that's a sign of a well-organised side. And I think going into what's going to be a strong League One with a whole clutch of former Premier League sides to come up against, and big budgets and big clubs, you'll need to be organised, you'll need to have a side of players who know their jobs and can carry those roles out. So I think Keith, well, hopefully both managers will be pleased with what they've seen this afternoon. It's certainly, both sides will be all the better for it, but we've still got some time to go. Connor Wilkinson for Northampton Town, and what doesn't make things easy for us commentators is there's a Connor Wilkinson on each side at the moment, and they're probably in direct competition given one's a striker and one's a defender. So if you think we're losing the plot, we're not. There are two Connor Wilkinson.
Who's got a middle name?
I can tell you the Orient Connor Wilkinson has one end in Connor, and Northampton Connor Wilkinson has two ends, and that's the only distinguishing feature I can find. Not much help if you're listening to us, I know. Apologies for that, we'll do our best. If in doubt, it's probably Connor Wilkinson on the ball. This is Cisse, I can tell you that much for Leyton Orient. Orient have the ball in midfield. Now with Craig Clay. Now it's Dayton, just closed down. Michael Harriman's got a spinning, bouncing ball to deal with, and he's quickly closed down by Angol.
That's good.
Ball played over to the left-hand side looking for Brophy. Low ball into the area. Joe Martin with an important tackle there. Looked like the ball was coming to Lee Angol, but Joe Martin read the danger, just sensed it and just did enough to get in a foot in there and clear the ball away.
It was good defending, and it was an excellent interchange between Brophy and Lee Angol. It
was. Another change for the Cobblers, another first-year professional and a product of the club's football and education programme. A second one after Scott Pollock. This is Ethan Johnston who's coming on. He's coming on in place of Antonio German, a trialist. He was a former loan player at the club many years ago under Andy King, if you think you've heard the name before.
been around, hasn't he?
He has. He's had a few clubs. Gillingham, I know, and I think he's played for a few clubs overseas. Anyway, it's a homegrown youngster who's on. Ethan Johnston scored a few goals for the youth team last season in his first year as a professional. Will take his place up front. Steve Arnold aims the ball in his direction. He's up against Cisse for his first touch, but Cisse just heads forward. For Northampton, Connor Wilkinson has the ball, and he clears left-footed out for a throw to the O's. So I think we're down to possibly just Ryan Watson and Michael Harriman now, the two players still out there for the Cobblers who began the game. I think I'm right in saying, I hope I'm right in saying, no injuries for either side as yet, which is, of course, as important factor as any in pre-season. Ethan Johnston has a free kick just inside the Orient half. Joe Martin thinks about taking it quickly, then probably thinks again, given that James Leyton had come to probably interfere with that particular notion anyway. Experienced Joe Martin, left-footed defender, plays it forward from a Millwall man, of course. Judd heads away, tries to prevent the throw, but it will indeed be a Cobblers throw. Attacking position close to the corner flag. It's going to be Joe Martin who's going to collect one of the balls from one of these cones that indicates it has been sanitised and ready for use. And he will now take this throw deep inside the Orient half. He's got a couple of options. He comes back. Of course, Missalou's a player I also missed out who's been on since the beginning. Forward to Morgan Roberts. Chests it down, Chris Lyons. What do you think about shooting? He tries to work an opportunity. He does shoot, but he misses the goal, and he clears an all-stand as well. So the goal kicks are Leyton Orient.
Yes, there's not too many balls on cones behind Vigouroux's goal, isn't there? The assistant helping out on this occasion.
It's one of those things you don't see in a league game. The assistants don't fetch the ball, but normal rules don't always apply in pre-season fixtures. So it's just about getting us underway again as quickly as possible. And it will be Vigouroux with a goal kick for the O's. Looking down for the Orient, Connor Wilkinson. Joe Martin's happy just to see the ball out for a throw into the Cobblers. And it's Northampton's Connor Wilkinson, you get the drift, who will take the throw in. Maybe there's a photo opportunity for those two. Socially distanced, of course, after the game. Connor Wilkinson meeting Connor Wilkinson. It will be Martin for the Cobblers. Samir Carruthers shows, but then makes a run into a gap. He does get the ball, but he can't find Martin back again. And it's Angol who wins it back. Martin clears, but against Angol, it will be a throw into the O's.
Leyton did well then to find Lee Angol, and Leyton Orient have forced this throw. They would not want to have a defeat on their record in the pre-season. They've scored 8, conceded 2 in the previous 2 games against Reading and Spurs, of course. They were youngsters, and this has been a much better and big, sterner test, no doubt about that.
Yeah, we're into the last 10 minutes. Northampton Town 1, Leyton Orient 0. Sam Hoskins, the goal scorer, a quarter of an hour into the first half. Orient have a throw. The Orient side remain mostly unchanged. The Cobblers have brought a host of substitutes on. It perhaps just indicates where both sides are in terms of their build-up. Orient came back a while before the Cobblers, who came back a bit later because of the playoff campaign that ran to the end of June, of course, which successfully conducted means they're now looking forward to League One. I think the Cobblers will have a free kick on the edge of the area. They will. And just a chance for Steve Arnold, I'm sure, will be to come out of his area and send this ball forward. He'll perhaps look for the experienced figure of Samir Carruthers, who's playing as a supplementary striker in this current formation. Steve Arnold, he had an interesting season. He got injured in the second match of the season. The Cobblers keeper was out for quite a while, then was second choice to David Quinnell, got back into the side a couple of weeks before lockdown, but retained his place for the playoffs and ended up keeping clean sheets in the second leg of the semi-final and, of course, at Wembley in the final. He'll be battling it out with Jonathan Mitchell, the first half keeper for the #1 shirt this season. So the Cobblers have a free kick down the other end of the field, close to the corner of the Orient penalty area. Chris Lyons, I think, will call seniority on this and stand over this. Joe Martin's another option. Cobblers don't quite have the height they had in the first half when Horsefall and Bolger were on the field, but Lions might shoot for the far corner here. We'll see. Joe Martin left-footed, Chris Lyons right-footed. Orient have a wall of 2. Jacob Ballinger prepares to come on, another first-year professional for the Cobblers, and in fact he is coming on now. Missalou will be the man to make way. So another local youngster, Jacob Ballinger, come up through the academy age groups. Even though it's pre-season, it will be a proud moment for these youngsters to get out on the field wearing the shirt. He's going to be Lyons for the free kick. He plays it over to the far post. It's not a shot, but it's a good header. Ethan Johnson, I think it was, with the header at the far post, and a good save.
It was an excellent free kick, wasn't it?
It was. It got excellent delivery, Chris Lyons, real experience and quality. The Cobblers squad, when you look at Adams and Marshall, and I'd add Mills to that, and Chris Lyons, there were some real good options. And with height in the air as well, you can see how they were such a threat last season from set plays.
There's so many assists, weren't there, in the team?
There were. Morgan Roberts with the corner into the area, but the whistle goes. Free kick to the O's. Ethan Johnston just acts as a nuisance to try and stop a quick free kick and gets a little tap for his troubles.
Is there a bit of pushing at the far post then?
I think so. It looked like it was a free kick. I don't think it was one of those where the ball curled out and in again. I think it was a little bit of push, little bit of a push. And Vigouroux for Orient clears the ball, just holding up in the wind. Watson forward, Judd forward for Orient. Lyons will be penalised here, I think indeed he will. Cisse and Lyons having a bit of a disagreement. They seem to resolve it quickly enough. It will be a free kick to Orient just inside their half. Josh Coulson, the man, stands over it. Cobblers still going one-on-one at the back. Played forward, looking for the Orient Connor Wilkinson, but Joe Martin heads away. Lyons tries to flick it on. Cisse is there for Orient into the area, but Steve Arnold reads that and is quickly off his line to claim. Steve Arnold, the former Shrewsbury keeper, got some League One experience under his belt that I'm sure will stand him in good stead for the coming season.
He's a big man, isn't he?
He is. He's a huge size for a goalkeeper. Downfield, Coulson and Johnston. Widowson tries to head away, lands awkwardly, and he was fouled. Thankfully he's okay. That's one of those awkward ones where you land on your back and
he's okay.
Could just catch your breath there, but he is okay. In fact, he's sprinting forward at quite a pace on the overlap on the left-hand side. Should Brophy need to use him, he does choose to use him, and it's Widowson can't quite get the cross, but given he took a nasty tumble seconds before, that was some impressive fitness to get down that end.
He did well. I'm surprised that James Brophy played it out to Joe Widdowson because he seemed to be in a good position. There are some occasions when you just wonder if James Brophy could show a little bit more sort of ambition in terms of going for that shot. But as you say, Widdowson, he deserved the pass, didn't he? Worked so hard to get out there.
Yeah, he'd have perhaps been a bit cross if he'd have made all that effort after landing awkwardly to get down the other end and then he hadn't have been used. But as you say, Brophy we know is a goal threat. Just a gap in play while Steve Arnold, I think, has been trying to fetch the ball, and I think he's given up on it, so we are having a replacement. We have around 5 minutes left to play by my watch. So the real closing stages of this afternoon's pre-season fixture. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage. I'm sure there'll be post-match reaction from Keith Curl on the Northampton Town website, and I'm sure likewise from Ross Embleton on the Leyton Orient website. I think both managers have probably got what they wanted from this afternoon's game. Morgan Roberts for the Cobblers, looking to try and get the ball forward. Chris Lyons just tries to tidy things up in midfield and keep the Cobblers moving. He's crowded out, but Ryan Watson, who looks like he's going to get 90 minutes, as does Michael Harriman, the two of them on the ball there. Forward to the Cobblers, Connor Wilkinson, I do apologise. Connor Wilkinson, it's confused me. Now Joe Martin coming forward. Jacob Ballinger, left-hand side. He's going to try and get a cross in. He does get a cross in. It's a good ball too from Ballinger, and it's headed behind. The header there from
Dan Happy, did well.
He did. It was a good ball in from Jacob Ballinger for a youngster in his first sort of taste of first-team football. That was a confident delivery into the air. Chance for Chris Lyons and Joe Martin to show their set play quality once more. It is going to be Lines. One arm raised. Delivers into the area now. It's got good pace on it, but it's headed away at the near post. Might come for Roberts. He heads back in. Samir Carruthers goes to ground. He's won a free kick right on the edge of the Orient area. Carruthers is claiming it's in the area. Dean Whitestone's not having any of it. Orient players, I think, are protesting that it shouldn't have been anything. There's the different sides of a football team there.
I must admit, I wasn't sure it was a free kick, but I assumed if it was a free kick, it was a penalty.
Yes.
If you see what I mean. If it was a foul.
Yeah, sure. It's sort of the one thing you perhaps didn't think it was a free kick. But anyway, it is a free kick. It's the tiniest of margins outside the penalty area. Chris Lyons, I'm sure, will take this. It's Lyons and Martin. Over it, I'm sure this will be Lyons. Right-footed, I'm sure he's going to go for goal 2 as well. Lyons does shoot at goal. It's over the wall, but Vigouroux was very well placed to make the claim. Sends it downfield quickly. It's charged down by Cabora, and it will be a free kick to Leyton Orient that Vigouroux will take. But good goalkeeping there. He got his ball set up and was in the right place to claim.
Yes, I'm not too sure why it's a free kick to Leyton Orient, but Vigouroux did very well indeed.
Yeah, it's one of those that just all seems to be given a free kick, don't they, on that occasion, but it is a free kick and it's nowhere near where the incident took place. So anyway, we're back underway. Ours is not to think too deeply about it, and in fact, there goes the final whistle. So it's finished here this afternoon. Northampton Town 1, Leyton Orient 0. Sam Hoskins with the goal in the first half, and I think from a Northampton perspective, Keith Curl will be pretty pleased. It was a competitive workout, a clean sheet. A goal, a few chances creating going forward, and most of all some competitive minutes into the legs of the players. From a Orient point of view through Ross Embleton, how do you think he'll view this afternoon?
Well, 90 minutes, and it looks as everybody's come through unscathed. It was Wilson Turio, the only player that didn't get the 90 minutes, but of course he's not had the full pre-season that the other players have had. The O's, of course, denied by the woodwork. They looked very good, particularly in the first half, from the set pieces, both corners and free kicks. They'll be disappointed with the defending that led to the goal, but it was an excellent strike. I enjoyed that one. It was a proper football match, as you'd expect against the Keith Curl side. And when you think of the changes that Northampton have had, and that this is their first proper match of pre-season, they look ready. And good luck and congratulations on promotion.
Thank you, Dave. Well, good luck to Orient too. Some pre-season games are a little sterile, a little flat. I don't think you can put this game in that category. I think, well, hopefully for the viewers at home, it was an enjoyable game.
The only thing it needed was fans, wasn't it? And let's hope they can be back here soon.
Well, the next best thing, hopefully for everyone watching at home and around the world, is that while you couldn't be here, we hope you've enjoyed our coverage this afternoon. Thank you to Dave for his input and his Leyton Orient knowledge, and thank you to Leyton Orient for this afternoon's game. Good luck to the O's for the coming season, and if you are a Cobblers fan, hopefully we'll see you this time next week for our next pre-season fixture against Luton Town. Good afternoon.